Polygamy exists in Islam. Every man has the right to marry 4 women. What's the wisdom behind this? They say that our Prophet got married several times because he was a lustful person. What would you say to them?
It is said that he married Aisha when she was only 7 years old.
So why do atheists make such ridiculous claims?
Today, we're going to ask you some questions that confuse a lot of people.
You have 60 seconds to answer each question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Polygamy exists in Islam. Every man has the right to marry 4 women. What's the wisdom behind this?
Before Islam, there was polygamy with more than 4 partners. Islam limited it to 4. Although the number was diminished and reduced to 4, only 1 is recommended. So 4 partners are allowed but not mandatory. But only 1 marriage is recommended.
I'm more curious about the wisdom behind this issue. What's the wisdom behind that?
Think about it this way. The male and female populations are very close to each other in the world right now. But this was different throughout history, and numbers differed in various regions. So when a woman says she's going to marry a man, there's a basis for this at the moment. But in major wars such as World War II, and there were many wars during the period of our Prophet lived. As you know, in wars, many men die, but many women survive. If we think about it in this context, a woman cannot marry a man. However, if a man takes 2 or 3 women under his protection, that woman could have a husband. What happened in this context? Islam allowed it. But when you look at the Islamic community under normal conditions, maybe 95% of the community prefers monogamy. Also, yes, the male and female populations are close to each other in the world. But this is not the case in all parts of the world. In some regions, men are limited, women are abundant. And in such cases, in such places, or in times of war, people prefer to use this permission to have more than 1 partner. So, what do you think about the practice of polygamy nowadays? Currently, polygamy is practiced more in non-Muslim communities. For example, according to data from the United States, 57% of men in a relationship are cheating. So, polygamy already exists. Do you know what I mean? Islam has limited it, but someone who has illegitimate relationships does not have a limit of 4. I said 57%. This is a serious number. I would also like to add this. It's not like I've been married a lot, I have many wives and sunny days. This is a complicated thing to manage. You have to treat all of them fairly. Even though polygamy seems cool and comfortable, on the contrary, because you have to be very fair, it's not an easy thing to manage. Please, let's not forget that Islam has allowed polygamy, but only a single marriage is recommended.
They say that our Prophet got married several times because he was a lustful person. What would you say to them?
I mean, it's so irrelevant. Now, we do not know at what age our Prophet entered puberty. Let's say 13. It usually happens a little earlier, as it is hot in the Arabian Peninsula. From the age of 13 to 25, our Prophet never got married. So how many years in total? 12 years. If he was someone who had a problem with lust and sexuality, could he be able to stay single until that age and marry a 40-year-old woman when he was 25 years old with Khadija? You know that Khadija is someone who got married before. Does that sound logical at all? A lustful person who is into sexuality getting married to someone who has been married before and is 40 years old? Fine, what you say makes sense. But what about his other marriages? Now, our Prophet remains married to Khadija and has multiple marriages in the last 10 years of his life. That is, a few years after Khadija's death, his polygamous life begins. And there's a lot of wisdom behind these marriages. And except for one, all of them are people who have been married before. Some have children. As for their age, a 50-year-old, a 53-year-old, a 55-year-old. For example, our mother Salama is 65 years old and has 4 children. Our Prophet is married to her. So when you look, if he was lustful, what would happen? All of the marriages of our Prophet would be with young women.
So why did he get married that much? What was the need for so many wives?
It has so many merits. First, it is strategic. It is political. You probably heard it in history books or movies. What happens? A monarch takes the daughter of another community. And then what happens? Peace is settled between them and they do not enter into war with each other. Our Prophet too married women from other tribes and communities to achieve peace. There's also a second wisdom, which is the Izwaj-e-Tahirat school. In other words, our Prophet had Maktab-e-Sufa, first Islamic school for men with science students among men, and Izwaj-e-Tahirat is composed of their wives in the Blessed House. Outside the house, it was conveyed by the companions of the Sufa, but who would convey the knowledge inside the house? Especially when there were certain things specifically about women. right? Even Badi'a Zaman Sayyid Nursi says almost half of the religious rules come from the Izwaj-e-Tahirat. That is to say, the house became a school. So it's nothing like the non-believers imagine. They're not marriages made in a sexual context. I mean, someone can find the marriage of a monarch logical, and he won't ask, why did he marry her? But our Prophet's apolitical strategic marriage irritates him. It is said that he married Aisha when she was only 7 years old. What would you say to that? This is a funny claim. Can you imagine a prophet marries a 7-year-old at the age of our prophet was also quite advanced? And how old was Aisha? According to the information obtained from the hadith, our prophet was already quite old. It is said that when he was 55. Aisha is said to be about 20 years old according to the hadiths. And why marry Aisha? Aisha is incredibly intelligent. She has an incredible memory. Now, we need to get information about the life of our prophet. How will we get it? Would an older person inside the house convey this better? Think in terms of memory and intelligence. Think in terms of observation. Or would a young person do it better? Aisha had a duty. And she was one of the 5 narrators who conveyed the most information. This gives us serious information about what she was doing inside.
But why do atheists make such ridiculous claims?
They have many similar funny claims. Why? To deceive those who do not know, those who cannot find the answers. When people do not have any knowledge about Islamic sciences, they slander and make things up to deceive the ones who don't know the real issue. This man you call an atheist, he does not even believe that there's a creator of this magnificent universe. He believes that it made itself accidentally. Isn't it normal to go astray in such matters? The man could not even find the owner of the universe. By slandering the Prophet, he's trying to get people to think like him. Think about it. Our Prophet, up until the age of 25, there is bodily warmth and lust. During that 12-year period, he never got married. Then he was 25, he married a 40-year-old woman who had been married before. And our Prophet only relates to this polygamy issue in the last 10 years of his life, and only with political and strategic marriages, but also within a decreased male population. And while we have reasons such as Izwaj-e-Tahirat at school, when someone comes and says, why did he make these marriages? Was it for lust? They accept the historical facts about our Prophet. Marriage. Yes, he married them. He married Aisha, so they accept that. But they do not accept other historical facts about our Prophet. Like what? Our Prophet is a man praying until his feet got sores. They don't know this bit of information. They don't know anything about the person's life, righteousness, and reliability, who prays a lot and has so much devotion. They only know what suits them and make claims like, wasn't he lustful? When you look at the general piousness and morality of our Prophet, him marrying a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, or marrying for lust, and getting married all the time for lust, does this model of a man match up with the devotion of our Prophet? And you know, I once said something like this to an atheist. I'm running out of time, I know. I'm sorry, but I said something to an atheist after he asked a question. I said, I'm going to ask you something. As much as you browse these atheist websites, have you done any research on websites that have the answers to these questions? Can you honestly tell me? He said I didn't. Do you know what I mean? In other words, he found a belief model he could easily sin with. Atheism. Okay, God doesn't see us. There are no angels, no guilt. Okay, this information is correct. Maybe some people can answer these. No, I won't go into that part. I found what I wanted. I got it, and I don't want to learn anything else. If someone has that mentality, then the truth cannot be reached. But inshallah, we claim that there is an answer to all these questions, about Islam. We do not trust ourselves, but we trust the Quran.